When Legend of Grimrock came out in 2012, the market was pretty much dominated by big-budget multiplayer shooters, and the first-person single-player dungeon crawler was an extinct species. I remember hearing about this game from a friend online, grabbing a copy, and getting about 90% through over 3 days before getting distracted and forgetting all about it. But it was the first grid-based crawler I had played since the Super Nintendo era. Legend of Grimrock was a smash success for the 4-man Finnish team that developed it, selling over 500,000 copies in its first year. Tremendous numbers for an indie studio at a time when there wasn't really an established indie market. This was one of the vanguard of indie games, puncturing the mainstream during that period when Steam launched Greenlight, the larval form of their current early access program, and we started seeing indie games on the big storefronts instead of buried in odd forums and free with malware on download mirror sites. Alongside titles like Minecraft, Kenshi, and FTL, Legend of Grimrock brought a ton of attention to Steam's burgeoning indie scene. Legend of Grimrock is an intensely specific game. It knows that it wants to focus on combat, exploration, and secret finding. Everything that doesn't directly support those goals isn't worth programming in. It has some lightweight RPG features, but I would barely call it a role-playing game. There's no NPCs to dialogue through, no quests, and only a vestigial story to point you in the right direction. Down. We play as a party of 4 prisoners, condemned to die in the mountain dungeon or earn our freedom. We can customize each party member across 4 races and 3 classes. There's a rudimentary stat and feat allocation screen, but it's incredibly simplified compared to any other D&D-like system. On level up, we gain skill points to distribute, and there isn't a lot of leeway in how you build a character. You'll want to dump as many points as possible into a single combat skill, and maybe use a few left over to ease armor penalties or chase stat gains. So your characters are pretty locked into their roles early on in the game, and any attempt to change them drastically midway will make it a much rougher experience. The grid-based, real-time combat leads to a series of intense 2-steps and tangos. You'll be dancing just out of range as enemy animations wind up, weaving in and out of narrow corridors while your attack cooldowns burn through, kiting enemies with ranged weapons, and frantically casting spells from memory using the rune-based spellcasting system. Right-clicking on weapons is how we attack, so this is an unusually mouse-heavy RPG. On normal and hard difficulties, every fight is capable of killing you, and there's no pausing, so the combat can become incredibly frantic at times. If a frontliner tanks a critical, you'll need to shuffle through the inventory in real time to grab a healing potion or replace your archer's ammo to keep him in the fight, all while juggling your attacks and positioning. Different enemies have different behaviors and attack patterns. Some will charge from a great distance, others will hover just out of reach and throw fireballs or try to pin you in hallways. And every encounter with a mixed force requires a lot of quick thinking and on-the-fly repositioning. The other focus of this game is exploration. There are 71 secret areas filled with equipment and consumables. We start the game buck naked, and it's paced out well enough that you'll only be fully equipped by around the halfway point, and then be upgrading equipment from there till the end. The empty inventory slots, lack of dropped gear, and overall resource scarcity serves as an excellent motivator to drive exploration, and the dungeon is designed with an abundance of intention. It's a real breath of fresh air compared to the procedural generation and roguelite designs that are currently in fashion. Puzzles are largely based around timing and movement, whereas secrets tend to require searching out hidden buttons in the walls or finding clues and sussing out special sequences of actions. I did not find all of them on my first go, and playing through a second time with a guide was really eye-opening as to how well hidden the majority of secrets are. The UI is substantially pared down from the games it's referencing, and even today it feels fairly modern, although perhaps that's more a sign of UI design stagnating. I do wish there were better options for hotkeys. There's no assigning the mouse actions to keys or keeping potions hotkeyed or anything like that. but the hectic nature of using only the mouse to control 4 characters does turn the gameplay into a clumsy riot. Graphically, there's not a lot of variety to the environments, with 3 biomes spread across the 13 layers of Grimrock. At times, it feels a bit like running through the Windows 95 Maze Runner screensaver, but the uniformity of wall textures lures you into walking right past the hidden buttons and puzzle ruins. The graphics have aged just fine. They weren't tremendously ambitious for their time, so we at least don't run into any issues of cutting-edge stuff aging poorly. Everything matches aesthetically, and the shadows of the dungeon fit all the pieces together into a nice, cohesive presentation. I enjoyed Legend of Grimrock more than I expected. I decided to play through it just to finally see the ending, and I was surprised at how captivating it was, even without nostalgia. The intense focus on movement and cooldowns in combat is refreshing and makes it feel more akin to something like Doom than I would have expected. Overall, the only thing that really hurt was a lack of variety and a few puzzles that were really mind-boggling. On the pain scale, I'd rate this one as mildly painful. It's a real good time with just a few minor frustrations and lots of very memorable and interesting puzzles spread throughout a well-paced, old-school dungeon crawl. Well, that's my 17th review. Thanks for listening. See ya!